record. We're good, are we?
Good.
Okay. So, good morning to our August coffee morning. As I was just saying, we obviously got staff on holiday here, so I am your elected host for this morning. So, but a real pleasure to join you as ever. So this morning, we will have two speakers. We have Jeremy Green from Coconut and Go Simple Tax, and we have, sorry, I can't see you on the screen now. I've lost you.
I can chime in. Louise Aldous Critchley from
Thank you,
Free.
Louise. So the coffee morning this morning, Jeremy will kick us off, and then we'll move on to Louise, and then I have some HMRC updates which we will go through. So I was on a round table yesterday, and I welcome some interaction and responses from yourself before I go back with a written response. But anyway, to start with, Jeremy, over to you.
Thank you very much for that, Sarah. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now, everybody. Thank you very much for joining today. What we're going to do is, in this short session, we're going to give you a very quick overview of Making Tax Digital and Coconut, and then we'd like to invite you to a webinar that we'll be delivering in September, which will be a more in-depth session of both topics.
Jeremy, before you carry on, I do
Yes.
apologise. I have been given an intro for you. So can I just
Of course you can. I'm glad
before
you
you
weren't gonna, you
start?
haven't told me my screen isn't being shared and you can't hear me. So
So
feel free to introduce me.
I'm clearly out of practice in this role, aren't I? So anyway, Jeremy, thank you for being here today. So Jeremy is a business partner from Coconut and Go Simple Tax. Jeremy is also an IAB member. He's a fellow member and he is AML supervised with us too. So he'll be giving us a timely update on MTD for ITSA. Coconut is now officially listed as an HMRC approved software, and Jeremy's doing a lot of work with Coconut to get to this point. He's also been getting under the skin of other softwares, so it would be great to get his broader insight as well as his view on the legislation and what these changes mean in practice and how Coconut can help, especially for the smaller non-VAT registered clients. And as Jeremy just alluded to, we have there is a webinar with Coconut for IB members later on. Well, not this month, next month, isn't it, Jeremy? So
Yeah.
anyway, over to you now, properly.
Thank you, Sarah. There's not much left for me to say now, so questions, please. Now, I'm Jeremy Green. I've worked with Go Simple Tax and Coconut since the start of their business, more than 10 years. I qualified as a chartered accountant with a big eight firm a long time ago, when there were no PCs or smartphones. I'm also a member of the IAB, just like you. I'm a proper product specialist with Coconut, working to make sure it's got the features customers need and that it delivers on MTD. All the time trying to make Coconut as simple as possible to operate and use. Okay, MTD is fast approaching, and it's going to require self-employed individuals and landlords with income over 50k to comply by April 26, April 27 for those over 30k, and April 28 for those over 20k. Under MTD, taxpayers are going to have to keep digital records and submit quarterly returns using compatible software. Accountants and advisors should act now to help clients prepare by reviewing their record keeping and recommending suitable software and explaining the new processes. Early adoption is going to ease the transition, avoid penalties, and improve tax efficiency. And proactive support will ensure clients meet deadlines and adapt smoothly to this significant change in reporting. The underlying message from all of the chat and the research and the experience is get clients keeping digital records on appropriate software sooner than later, so April 26 isn't as much of a nightmare as it might be. Okay, Coconut was started in 2018 with MTD in mind. It was acquired by Simple Tax in 23, and it's now part of a group servicing 30,000 users. Coconut's HMRC recognised and FCA regulated. It's designed to cope with the requirements of MTD from April 26, especially for sole traders and private landlords. It's super simple to use. It's got no jargon. It's designed for the least technical of users. There's added functionality for accountants and bookkeepers to allow them to better manage the client's activity. As mentioned earlier, we've partnered with IAB to deliver a webinar, and that's going to be on the dates on screen, 11 September, not the best date in the world, but the world carries on. It's going to assist with the understanding of the basics of MTD for income tax, how MTD is going to change the way you manage tax for your clients, how to get ready for MTD, how MTD works in Coconut, and how easy it is to send quarterly updates. And there'll also be a chance for a Q&A session at the end. If you want to book a space, simply scan the QR code on screen. That'll take you to a booking page. Or if you prefer, there's a web link on screen if you note that down. Okay. If you are impatient, you can sign up for a free partner account at the link at the bottom of the slide. Accountants and bookkeepers have a 50% discount on the retail price of Coconut. And as an IAB member, you get an additional 10% also. And if you want to learn more about Coconut in advance of that September 11 date, Leanne's contact information and DDI are on screen. We will be making the slides available on a short PDF after the session. And now, after that short session, we'll have some questions if there are any. Otherwise, we can proceed with the coffee board.
It would be great if anybody is already using Coconut, whether they've got any feedback. If anyone puts anything in the chat, that would be really good. I mean, Jeremy, it'd be quite useful if there's any specific features or anything which you wanted to go into at Coconut, which you think are specifically.
I can give you an overview. Basically, it's a mobile-centric application. It works on iOS and Android, and there's also a web browser that the accountant or bookkeeper will use to review and edit transactions. The user gets an invite sent by the accountant or bookkeeper from within the web browser version of the application. They install the app on their phone and connect via open banking to their bank accounts. When they connect their bank accounts, they can connect as many as they wish. So if they've got multiple accounts and only a couple are relevant, they only have to connect those. When they're connecting a bank account, they will indicate whether the account is a business account or a mixed account. If the account's a business account, the software will attempt to categorize and learn from the user categorization of transactions. If the account's a mixed account, the software will not do that because we've decided that that would be a more efficient approach. So that's helpful. Let me think. We're at the moment testing quarterly submissions. They are in hand, and everything will be tickety-boo by the deadline. There will be a chance to join in the beta as time progresses, as we open that up to more taxpayers. At the moment, it's basically single source with no backlog, NI details, and all details fully up to date with HMRC in line with their testing protocol and regime.
Jeremy, when's the beta testing open? Because that would be a really great thing to be able to open up to members.
Imminent. I've got a queue of people, a short queue of people who want to join in, and I expect that to be open before the end of the month. I can't give you a firmer date than that because I don't have one.
And how would people go about registering for that? Is there a link, or can we put that
Yeah,
in?
once they go on the sign up for the software, they can access it on the web, and there's an MTD tab on the web where they can indicate their interest. There's also an AI help page at the bottom right of the application on screen, and they can send a message in via that as well.
Okay, that would be fantastic. If you can just pop anything in the chat later, that would be useful. I do have a couple of questions. The first one here is there a charge for receipt capture?
No, there's no limit and there's no charge, unlike other pieces of competitor software.
Okay. And next question, are you developing a version for VAT registered firms?
Good question. The software does have basic VAT functionality, but we're not pushing that because the VAT capability of it is very limited. What it will do at present is it will do multiple VAT rates on different sales lines, purchase transactions a single VAT rate, and it does not have any bridging or MTD for VAT capability. Our priorities in terms of development are MTD for income tax and getting that working, quarterlies and annual submissions. And so MTD for VAT in terms of coconut is further out. Our focus is on sole traders and landlords under the threshold.
Okay, thank you. Another question, this is from Kieran. I'll be interested in looking further. We have a lot of sole traders who really don't need half the staff or charges from the likes of Xero, QuickBooks, and Free Agent. I think that's probably a fair comment. Jeremy, would you see Coconut slotting into that gap?
Perfectly, perfectly. It's there for the sole traders and landlords under the VAT threshold. It's super simple to use. It's very intuitive. It's perfect for that smaller tier of client that doesn't need the sophistication of the other products. Our product's pricing matches that level of capability as well. So it ticks all those boxes.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure it hasn't escaped anyone's notice. We are just a year out, just under a year out now from the first submissions needing to be made. So, and Kieran's just responded to your answer going, awesome, exactly what sole traders need. I think that's right. I think it's going to have something at that entry level. So the price.
Okay, if anybody wants to book a one-to-one session, the contact information on screen for Leanne, please use that and we can book a one-to-one 30-minute demo of the product where you can speak to me direct and I can show you the product direct. Yeah.
So could you please share the partnership link? So any of those contact details, Jeremy, if you can just drop them into the chat as finished, that would be really useful.
Okay, will do.
Has anyone got any further questions? If not, we shall move on. So Jeremy, if you can just drop those into chat while we're...
Yes, I'll figure that out whilst you continue with your morning. Thank you very much for your attention, everybody. I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeremy. So our second speaker is long-term partner Breathe HR, and joining us is the head of partnerships, Aldous Critchley. So I've actually personally used Breathe in my business for about 10 years. And we actually also use it here at the IAB. So I actually would very much recommend it. I think it's a great tool for streamlining all of your HR processes. So Louise will be looking at how we can use it internally within your practice or when supporting clients. You'll hear some real examples how accountants and bookkeepers are using Breathe to save time, simplify people management, and add real value. So lots of practical insights. So Louise, over to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay and you can see my screen, which is hopefully a good start to this part of the session. So as Sarah said, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and join you all today to talk through what Breathe does, not only for your own business, but also how it can add value to your clients as well. So we have a quick agenda to run through, and then we will open up to Q&As at the end. But to start, I think it's really important to tell you what Breathe is, because some of you may have come across us as a brand, some of you may not have. Then understand how it fits into the framework that you all know very, very well, and I know has been communicated a number of times, and then really dive into the specifics of that. So to start, what is Breathe? Breathe is essentially anything a business needs to hold in regards to their employee records. So whereas historically, maybe they had a filing cabinet with little segments for each employee, or they had a spreadsheet with 100 tabs in regards to the employee data, we bring everything all together into an easy, accessible solution that can be accessed anywhere from your mobile, iPad, computer, anywhere around the world. And the idea for us is, how can we help businesses streamline their entire HR process so they can get back to doing what they want to do? And that's fundamentally growing their business. You step out of a corporate job and you spin up your own business. You don't do it with the mindset of, oh, I've got all these admin jobs to do at the same time. It's more, how can I add value and grow my business? We do it in a way that you can export everything as well, so you can spot those trends, which is really important. But one of the things we take huge amount of pride on is the security element. So everything we do is to ensure that the data for you and your clients is as secure as we possibly can make it. And we do it in a way that's also commitment free, as we understand businesses don't want to sign up for multi-year contracts. So we have a monthly subscription service so that it's flexible with their growing business. I could talk about the specific functionality of Breathe probably for about 3 hours, but no one wants that on a morning. So really high level, what can we cover in the system? It's all around, as I said, that centralized employee records to start, being able to book and manage absence. So that's not just holiday, but that's sickness and other leave, which is really important to understand who's in the office at any given point. And then, as you can see on the screen, a huge amount of other information can be pulled into the system and managed by the employee, their line manager, and the wider team. We take pride in giving clients choice. So yes, we have a huge, broad range of functionality, but allowing customers to pick what's right for them based on their journey, be them a company with only 2 employees all the way up to 5,000 now. It's that choice. What do they need? What do you need in your business to take that admin away and save time? So really quickly, what does it look like? As you can see, an incredibly modern interface. I have always said, if you can use Facebook or you can use Zoom, you can use Breathe, right? We do everything simply. We're targeted for small businesses fundamentally. That's where we want to add the most value, and providing a simple, easy to use software is just one element of that. So you will all have seen this before, and I know Sarah has showed this many times and it's in your magazine regularly. But how does Breathe fit into each of these stages? And I think that's really important to understand. How could it work? So quite simply, Breathe can fit into any of the boxes, but depending on what you want it to do. My job is around partnerships, and I love my job because we create true relationships with businesses, understanding what their business goals are and how we can support them. So if we look at the boxes on the left-hand side, you're growing your own practice. Breathe could fit in as an extra service, an extra value proposition to your clients. As you grow your business, okay, starting to look at your own business, how can you save time on admin? And that's where Breathe can fit in, which is hugely exciting. We can help you with anything. So what I wanted to do is quickly dive in to look at your own businesses. So as I said, if you have 2 employees, you're already starting to have to keep an eye on their employee records, managing when they're going off on holiday. How does that work? Have they got sickness going on? So I think the important thing to start with is some statistics around how much time it can save. Is a lot of time when you create a business and you're starting to take on more and more of those responsibilities, you haven't factored in, or potentially haven't factored in, the admin time that goes behind it. And Breathe can simply remove a huge amount of hours over a course of a year to give that time back for you to use internally to focus on your clients, to focus on growing your own business. Now, I'm sure many of you will look at that and go, oh, I would quite like 104 hours back in my diary over a year. And that's just one element of what we can support with. I'm joining today as Head of Partnerships, so I wanted to show you what can be done from growing your business. So fundamentally, we create a partner program that gives you choice in your business as well. I understand, and I've been looking a lot about the Make Tax digital movement that's happening, and looking at the halo effect that's coming from that. Is many more clients are looking much more broader at how can they use technology to help their scaling businesses, and that's really helping create that transition. But then in addition to that, I'm hearing, and you will all have had it, is clients coming to you seeking more advice from you in your business as your role changed to more of an advisory role for your clients. So how can that fit in as well? Partnerships is nothing new, and we do have over 100 accountants and bookkeepers already partnering with Breathe or using the platform. And as Sarah said, you use it internally at the IAB and really see the benefit and how simple and easy to use it is and the value that is there. So I've talked a lot about value, so let's just dive into that a little bit more. As I said, offering a value add service outside of the work you already do can really help with client retention, as clients are starting to look at more of a one-stop shop. Is where can I go to get all of my needs answered in one go? It can also help with streamlining client operations. So if you're helping a client maybe with their payroll once a month, is how can you get that information quickly and easily and securely through a system, and we can help with that. Enhanced compliance. We know there is a huge change in UK HR law legislation this year, all around day one rights, things like that. Is how are companies managing their own HR processes and how can they stay compliant in that side of things? And then improving data accuracy. You probably have all had a situation where you're managing something on a spreadsheet and someone's gone in and changed a field that they shouldn't have, or maybe corrupted a spreadsheet. Pulling it out of that and putting it into a system which is accurately secure, we've got audit tracking, things like that, can really support a business from the starting point and really grow. And then finally, you've all stepped into your business to grow and make money. Fundamentally, is Breathe could be a extra revenue stream for you, as we have a really lucrative rev share scheme that is designed to be flexible for what you need and what your clients needs. So what does that actually look like? At a high level, as I said, we want to give you choice. If you're looking at it from an advisory role and a client is asking you questions about an HR software or how to stay compliant with UK law, our referral route can be really a simple value add for you. Joining the partner program, we would give you a link, and all you have to do is send that link onto your client and we will manage the rest for you. If they sign up, we'll give you a rev share of that opportunity. If you're much more deeper entrenched in that client, maybe running their payroll each month or helping them with a number of other initiatives, our reseller model could be maybe a better fit for you. And this is where we would give you all the tools to manage any opportunity yourself. We wouldn't contact your client, we would support you as our partner, and you get a higher rev share from that opportunity. So what's the value to your clients fundamentally? Why would you even look at this as an opportunity? There is a number of key reasons for me that could be that for you. So firstly, for the end client or even yourself, we talked about it before, is saving that admin time so people can focus back on their business, removing that day-to-day manual tasks, automating it and streamlining it. For example, annual leave. I could log a annual leave request right now, and it can automatically calculate based on the rest of my team, should I auto approve this or not? And the system does that all for me. Improving employee engagement. We're seeing a marked shift with certainly the younger generation expecting technology to be there and expecting that great user experience for them. So providing them with the tools that they can do a lot themselves. For example, they go and get married, they've changed their name, they can update it in the system, and this will fire off notifications to the right people within a business or even you as partners to make sure that the rest of the records and the rest of the process is followed. Better decision making. We all in our lifetimes have come across situations where we go, oh, actually, I think we have an issue there. But actually being able to see that in data through our real-time trends reports is really insightful and can really accelerate those decision-making opportunities for a business. We are incredibly cost effective, and I'll talk to that in a minute to show you what that looks like. And then finally, scalable. We take pride, and a lot of pride, in being able to support businesses from 2 employees all the way up to 5,000 employees with our sister company. So being able to grow with a company and support their needs when they need something more complex, bolting those on when it's right for them. So from a price point of view, it can start as little as £22 a month. Now, if you look at that for 10 employees, I've certainly been to Costa and spent more than £22 a month on a cup of coffee, or many cup of coffees. And this is everything included in our core module is there. And then, as I talked about, is that giving that client choice, or giving yourself choice, is if you need additional functionality, it's entirely up to you whether that's being bolted on or not. And as I said, we don't tie people in. Think of us like a Netflix version of HR. You can have a monthly subscription, you can cancel any time. And the importance of Breathe is allowing businesses to set up healthy HR habits from a really early opportunity in their business so that they can really scale in the way that they want to. So, IAB members, we're really excited to be able to offer you a quite bold offering here. So for you, if you have up to 4 employees in your business, we'll give you 50% off for your first 12 months. So I talked about that £22 a month, half that, and that's what we would love to offer you in your business to grow. If you're interested in joining the partner program, we're going even bolder and saying if you join the partner program, we will give you 80% off any of your clients who join in the first 6 months from this point onwards. If you're interested, like Jeremy gave you, a beautiful QR code on the screen. So I'll pause for a second for anyone who wants to scan that. But we'll be really interested to understand more about your business and how we can work together to give you a great partnership that is truly relationship focused. Pause for 1 second just to see if anyone, I can always come back to this in the minute in the Q&A if needed.
Okay, Louise, thank you. That is such a generous offer. So, yeah, very
Perfect.
grateful for that. Let me read some of the questions. So from Carol, can the time tracker collect time per project or just overall? And can you run a report to show how much time has been used on a project?
Yes, so we have a number of different routes to do. We have our time logs function, which is in Breethe's core pricing, which you can set up projects, you can start to log time against those projects and run reports thereafter. Or then we have our rota time in attendance module, which goes in a lot deeper. So it really does depend on what level of reporting you want. It depends on whether you take the core time logs or the deeper functionality of rota time in attendance.
Okay, thank you. Sarah has noted here, thank you. As I have contacted RotaGeek and they have recommended you for smaller businesses. That's a nice bit of feedback.
So RotaGeek is part of the big family of softwares that we have. So that's really nice to hear. So yeah, absolutely willing to help out wherever needed.
Okay, thank you. Carol, and does the expenses management system add-on connect with QuickBooks Zero or other accounting softwares to upload claims automatically once approved?
Great question. At the moment, no. This is something we're exploring. We're looking at enhancing our expenses module in the next calendar year. What we do in the interim is provide an incredibly robust report that can be imported into Xero and QuickBooks and other softwares. So we've used expenses in-house, and that's how we've managed it. Is employees can log expenses through the system, gets approved, and then our finance team can then import it into the solution of their choice.
Okay, thank you. And Sarah's just asked, what is included in the standard module as all the things my clients will come under add-ons?
So there's a huge amount. So I'll try and rattle through as many of them as I can. So the employee record first and foremost, their pay details, anything to do with absence, so holiday, sickness, other leave like maternity leave, performance, so one-to-ones, objectives and key results. Then we've got training in there as well, DBS checks, grievances and disciplinaries, emergency contacts, medical information, equipment. There is many more, but I think that gives you a bit of a summary. Quite a lot in the core. It really does depend on what the client needs, because we might have in our core the basic functionality, depending on their size that they need. The add-ons are really if they want to go deeper into a certain area.
Okay. And Jason says, are demos available before we sign up? and training used for the software included?
Yes. So if you're interested in the partner program, what I would recommend is through your member area, there is a link out to get in touch with us. We can provide you a clear demonstration of the system. If you decided to then join up to the partner program, we will work with you hand in hand to make sure that you have everything you need, from not only how to use the system, but things like how to talk about it, sales and marketing tools, value proposition, to help enable you as much as possible. And we're constantly developing that area as well. So we're here to work with you. It's certainly not a sign up, off you go, and you're on your own. Absolutely not. We have an incredible team that are here to help.
Good, thank you. So there's Sarah's just asked further questions about the details. Have you got a link or anything, Louise, that you could just put in the chat so people can have
Absolutely.
the actual benefits, what's included in core add-ons exactly? I think people
Absolutely.
need to.
I'll pop that in the chat in a minute. And look, if anyone has any questions, please do reach out to me, and I'm more than happy for us to walk you through everything that we have to offer.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Louise. Is there any other questions? So, all right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you to both our speakers, and thank you both for offering such great discounts to our members as well, which is always gratefully received. Right, it is over to myself. So, what I wanted to touch on was the HMRC consultations that have been ongoing. There was quite a long pause of consultations with the new government. Well, they've been imposed for over a year now, but there has many of the consultations that had started with HMRC and the Treasury prior to the Labour government coming in were paused for a long time, and now they've kicked off again. So all those roundtables have started. Yesterday, I was at the roundtable for raising standards. So this has been going on for a couple of years. So this is back being discussed. Now, what I would love your interaction with, though, this morning is your thoughts, because I now need to put together a written response again by the 15th of September. So I'm going to go through a bit more of the detail, but if you can take note, if any ideas that come to mind, any thoughts you want to share. Mariska, I think you've kindly elected to be the point of contact to gather any emails that come in after I've spoken today. I will spend time collating those responses and consider those in our official IAB response back to HMRC. So just to give you an update, the Raising Standards consultation has been going on for 2 years. There is some draft legislation that has recently been published. What has also happened with this consultation is, while it was initially all-encompassing, it has actually now been fragmented a little bit, which, good, bad, don't know. This is just how HMRC are dealing with it. Mariska, could you just drop into the chat the links for the draft legislation that can be found on the HMRC website? Now, this is just to give you easy access to, if you copy these now, and then you can go back to them possibly afterwards if you want to think about this. This is the draft legislation, and this is what was being discussed yesterday. Just to give you, I think, well, what I was doing in preparation of this, I thought the best thing to do was summarise the points in this draft legislation, and I've cross-referenced it against prior IAB responses. So I've just got a few points there, which I think would be useful if I shared with you, just so that you understand our thinking here about where we stand and what our opinion is. So in the HMRC, the draft proposals, we follow those links. What the HMRC are proposing is to extend the Schedule 38 powers. So this goes then beyond dishonest conduct to include broader facilitation of non-compliance. So it is a redefinition of that particular law. So where the IAB have responded previously, the IAB agrees poor conduct needs tackling, but argues the real issue is the lack of a universal registration and consistent professional standards. I suppose what I've been arguing for a long time is that there should be a national register for anyone providing financial services to the general public. In simplistic terms, a bit like Checkatrade, because I don't believe our taxpayers in the country have full visibility about who is eligible to provide these services for them. Next point, HMRC have proposed a lower threshold for information gathering from dishonest or reasonable suspicion. So from dishonest to reasonable suspicion. So again, lowering the threshold for what they deem to be non-compliant behaviour. So the IAB's position on this is that IAB warns against vague thresholds and loopholes. Instead, it calls for gatekeeping via qualifications, DBS checks, and again, a central register enforcement. So by that, what I have put forward is, again, if we had a national register, there would be requirements to actually gain access to that national register. For example, as we do with your entry to access as an IAB member, is a requirement for DBS checks, either qualifications or qualified by experience. There would be potentially that could be extended to having PI insurance or the necessary insurance, so that somebody on the register already has been screened, if you like, rather than I kind of feel HMRC's response is slightly they're dealing with after the event has happened. I'd like to see some more upfront activity to screen this out. The third point that I pulled out is HMRC are suggesting a removal of tribunal approval for accessing advisor working papers with internal HMRC or authorization instead. Basically, HMRC can ask you directly to access to your client's work rather than having to go and gain access or gain external permission to do that. So where the IAB sits on this is the IAB supports stronger enforcement against unregistered or rogue operators, including restricting HMRC access systems and criminal prosecution for unregistered practices. So in support of stronger regulation, but I'd like to know your thoughts on whether HMRC should just be allowed to do that or whether they have to request access as it currently is. The next point I pulled out in the legislation is increased penalties proportionate to revenue loss plus power to name and shame and sanction advisors. So that's what HMRC are proposing. The IAB's response is the IAB supports penalties, but stresses the bigger tool is the ability to strike off advisors from a central register. Financial penalties alone are insufficient. Rogue advisors may just factor them in. So again, as you can hear, I'm very strongly advocating for a central register because at least we can track what's going on. Right, the next point, HMRC, they suggest mandatory HMRC registration from tax advisors interacting with HMRC from April 26. I really do think this is probably going to go ahead. I think this is great. IAB strongly supports a mandatory central register, but stresses it should cover all practitioners. So I think there's a loophole here, and it should include employed bookkeepers and advisors, not just those in a direct business relationship. We need full transparency. The next point, HMRC are advocating disclosure of advisor misconduct to professional bodies. As far as I'm concerned, the IAB already operates standards and disciplinary mechanisms, but notes they are undermined by inconsistent PBS. So I would suggest HMRC encourages that all professional bodies have the same minimum standard. For example, we have led the way with having DBS checks for our membership. Other professional bodies don't adhere to that. So again, we feel that we are raising the bar, but it's inconsistent within the industry. So that just gives, I mean, have a look at the legislation yourself, but that was me summarising that. Now, in terms of my response, I've kind of categorised it into 5 areas. So possibly I'd like you to consider these points in a slightly structured response, if you'd like, coming back in here so I can collate these in a structured way, if you like. So what I would like your thoughts on is one, structural versus enforcement fix. So HMRC's draft focuses on enforcement, but I feel without mandatory registration and universal standards, rogue operators can still escape scrutiny. My position really is that I think there should be more time spent on prevention rather than the cure. However, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. The second point, which I really have pushed for, is this policing the perimeter. Now, currently, I don't think it's any secret that what the stats currently are, that it's thought that around 35% of people offering financial services to the general public in the UK are not supervised in any way, shape, or form. So they do not have AML supervision, and they are practicing outside of professional bodies or any or HMRC supervision. I think that is a huge number, and I think that needs thing. So HMRC are still, while they want to deal with this, their focus tends to be more on increasing penalties for those that are already regulated. I think this has the opposite effect of bringing those people in on, it pushes people out rather than captures those that are non-compliant now. That's my personal thoughts. Over to you, though. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but it's around policing the perimeter and trying to really incorporate, and capture everybody so that we're all operating. I just don't think it's fair for everyone who's behaving properly. They shouldn't be undermined by those that are not. The third point I'd like you to consider is penalties versus striking off. Those, so where you sit on this, so financial penalties potentially can be absorbed by those rogue advisors. And I think a truer deterrent would be not allowing them to practice in the first place rather than just giving them penalties afterwards. Maybe it's not strong enough. Don't know. Fourthly, if you can consider closing loopholes. Now, I suppose really what I'm talking about here is that this legislation extends to self-employed rather than the employed. And I'd like to know your thoughts on that, whether employed people should be within this legislation as well, or should be caught up, captured within that. And then the fifth point I'd like you to consider is the partnership roles for professional bodies. So, for example, we're upholding standards through training, CPD, and we have our disciplinary standards. And as I just said a minute ago, whether that should be universally applied by all the professional bodies rather than each professional body allowing to set their own standards. So that would be interesting. So a lot of information, but I really would welcome any feedback that I think the whole point of these particular forums is for you to, for me to hear your voice, allow you to have a voice, and I can channel it right up to the people that are making the decisions. I can't guarantee they'll listen, but it would be, it's a fantastic opportunity for you to share your thoughts. I think it's important. Right, let me go back through some questions. Will I be sending this out in writing? I hadn't particularly thought. So, would it be? I'll follow up afterwards. Mariska, I'm not quite sure we can put that. Maybe I'll put some notes in with the recording when it goes live. Wendy, I fully agree with the National Register. Wouldn't it just be fantastic? Kieran, good steps forwards. I'm in support. Susan Grant, hang on. DBS checks are a great thing to have in place. And wow, they should be supervised. I presume that's the policing the perimeter comment. Jason, the challenge lies in the fact that individuals can provide tax and bookkeeping services without being registered. Absolutely. And when we started this consultation, was the starting point. I feel like it slightly slipped. Sarah, this is really good steps to maintain compliance and regulation with advisors. Just a suggestion that HMRC must check all registered agents if they have license and supervised body. Absolutely. Thank you. Kathy, virtual and person assistants taking on bookkeeping tasks with no supervision. Very frustrating. Yes, please put that in your loopholes. Um, Thanks, this area, really helpful. I do think having something written sent to members would be helpful. Okay, all right, we'll take that feedback back. And Kieran, proud to be compliant with the IAB. I have even stunned others I know running firms with ICAW qualifications who don't do half of what we do. Absolutely. And we are acknowledged with OPBAS, who is our supervisor, that we are leading in standards. So I think the other professional bodies should be following us. But there you go. So yeah, I'll try and get something out, even if it's those bullet points of how I would just your consideration for topics to or how to respond, I think would be helpful just to stress that. So there you go. That's my recent update. So any other questions? The whole concept sounds seriously flawed. I think they're meaning well. It's incredible. When I do, to be fair to H1C, when you sit in those round tables and you have so many different stakeholders and they do have to consider so many different aspects, it is an incredibly difficult, it is a very difficult for them to come up with a solution for everyone. But I just think it's a really nice opportunity for us to give our side of the story from a grassroots perspective, which is sometimes what they miss. But anyway, thank you very much. And yes, Karen, good discussion point for ambassador groups. Okay. Right, I think that probably brings us to a close. Mariska, is there anything I've missed? Has Sam told you to with my notes here? Okay, so we shall wrap up then this morning. Thank you ever so much. Enjoy the bank holiday weekend, and I feel like it's a little bit back to school in September. So yes, we shall see you all on the next coffee morning. Thank you very much.